Hello, everyone. Welcome to the very first episode of We Are McGill Social Work, where we're going to sit down with amazing people in our school to discuss what's going on in their lives, what's going on in their daily duties, what are they doing, whether it's the students, faculty, lecturers, you name it. Now that we don't get to meet at Wilson Hall anymore, we need to find ways to communicate. So today we have our very first guest, Nicole Mitchell and Matthew Coutu-Moya, to talk about what they do in the school and what they're hoping that you can join them on. So before we get started, I'm gonna ask them to introduce themselves, tell us a little bit about them, and then if you can also mention a little bit about your journey to social work, how long you've been a social worker, what you're doing right now, that would be awesome. I'm gonna start with you, Nicole.
Okay, so my name is Nicole Mitchell, and as you just stated, I wear many hats at the school right now. So I'm a course lecturer for the BSW students. I'm also the MSW field coordinator. I do U3 advising, and I also do student support with Matthew and the team. So that's what I do within the school right now. And so my journey in terms of being a social worker, it actually started off as me actually being a special care counselor. So when I finished high school, I knew that I wanted to help people. I knew that I wanted to go into a field that, would allow me to, help me to make a living, doing something that I love to do. And I knew that I wanted to be a support to others. So I went into special care counseling as my first degree. And then I later went into social work because I felt like I wanted to do more. I was working at the Sears and the CHSLD and also at the Oldbury Mission. And it was really at the Oldbury Mission that I realized that there was a whole underbelly in the city of people in need. And I felt as though I wanted to do more. I wanted to be more effective at reaching people when I was, seeing them one-on-one. And that really pushed me to go back and finish my social work degree. I think I had started in 2009. So I went back to finish it. And then I went on to do my master's and was really working primarily in mental health. I worked as a support counselor in the Department of Psychological Services in Ganawage. And that, I think that was the highlight, if you would say, of my career. Nothing else mattered. It felt like nothing else mattered. What mattered was being able to walk with people on their journey and to support them on their journey and to see them through, because I understood not only maybe the micro things or the individualistic things that were involved in their presenting issues, but also the macro issues that played into everything, the systemic oppression, the lack of compassion that people, on the outside had for Indigenous people. And it just, like I said, it really, those were the best years of my life, I would have to say. It really, I left work, even if it was a hard day, I left work feeling like I did something. And it's not to say that I don't feel that now, but it's a different kind of I did something. Now I'm helping to mold future students, helping them to be more aware, helping them to practice in a way that, you know, is considerate of others, and really not just focused on what you're being told to do, but listening to your clients, and really trying to see them through. So you know, I love being a social worker. It means a lot to me. I think that in life we've all had to call on someone, or needed somebody for help, needed somebody to hold their hand through something. And the reality is that for some people, they really don't have that. And social workers can be that person. Sometimes we're the only person that actually has taken the time to listen and to try to do something about the issue. And you know, I think that that's it's really an honor. There's a lot of weight that goes with this kind of work, and we know that. But at the same time, I think it's extremely rewarding, and you know, you're doing something that is helping to change the world. So one person at a time. So I don't know if I'm talking in circles, but I hope that made sense. I hope that made sense.
It did. Thank you so much for sharing that. How about you, Matthew?
All right. Tanche Kiawao, Matthew Tishinakashon, and Michif Nia, British Columbia, Oche Nia. Hello, everyone. My name is Matthew. I am Métis, or Michif in our language. I am originally from British Columbia. My background isn't quite as full as Nicole's. My journey would be, I originally went to school, kind of like Nicole, to do into a helping profession when I came out of high school at West. But when I was young, the idea of what helping profession meant was pretty vague. My small town didn't have a lot of, I guess, academic counselors to kind of set you up. Your job prospects were like, go to university or work a trade. And I am not skilled enough to work a trade. I'm very clumsy. So I went to university thinking maybe I'd go into medicine. I quickly realized I did not have the mental fortitude to do science for my whole life. So I kind of just was at university, meandering, figuring out what I wanted to do with myself. And as it just so happened, I ended up doing some volunteer work in Victoria, and I met through that a lot of social work students. And I started talking to them, and they would tell me what they were studying, what their program involved, and I was like, oh, dang, that sounds really cool. But at this point, I was 4 years into my degree, so I just kind of always kept back in the back of my mind as like, oh, that's an interesting career prospect. I graduated from university, struggled quite a while to find a job. What I did do in the interim was I volunteered quite a bit. And I volunteer a lot in immigrant and refugee organizations, helping newcomers settle in Canada. Down the line, this had eventually turned into a job. I got hired to work in Kamloops, British Columbia, and I worked there for over 3 years. I was privileged to work during Canada's response to the Syrian refugee crisis. So I worked with a lot of families from Syria, as well as other countries around the world. And I loved it. I mean, I haven't done a lot of social work since then per se, but similar to Nicole, I think that might have been some of the best years of my life. I grew a lot in that job. I was humbled not only by my colleagues who were amazing, but also the clients that I was privileged to work with. But kind of like what Nicole said, I kind of felt, or I should speak for myself a little bit more, I felt like I was hitting walls in my skills, because like my background was kind of in psychology and biology. I thought I wanted to be a neurologist. And those skills, while somewhat useful, you just kind of start to realize the institutional complexity of providing service, specifically for immigrants and refugees. And I just kind of got frustrated. I felt kind of skill capped. I needed to grow, and not only in my skills, but even just realizing that having a social work degree opens up certain institutional powers that you just don't have without a social work degree. Like, for example, in BC, you can't help someone apply for persons with disability designation unless you're a social worker. So I decided after 3 years that I wanted to go back to school to study social work. I applied to McGill. Very luckily, I got accepted. And then that was in 2017. And then I believe I graduated in 2020. So I'm a very recent graduate of McGill's PSW program. And I now work for Indigenous Access McGill here at the School of Social Work, which is really wonderful for me because as a student, I benefited from IM. They were very supportive of me during my studies. And I had the immense privilege of getting to know Ben Jibo. Anyone who's listening who might have been here in prior years will recognize Ben and what a treasure he is. So I am stepping into some big shoes, but it's with great pleasure that I now work with IM. I'm hoping to give back to a program that really helped me out. So thank you for having me here this morning.
Thank you. Thank you both for sharing your journey to social work and telling us a little bit about you. My name is Alice, by the way. I am your host today, and I'm in my last year of social work BSW here at McGill.
Congratulations.
Yes, you're almost there.
Almost there. I can see the end of the line.
Yes.
Yes, I will. I will see you soon. So I wanted to dive in this role, this amazing role that you are holding at the School of Social Work. I heard of it. I haven't accessed it, so this is perfect timing to let me know how I can benefit from that as a student as well. So the student support coordinator. What does the team do? What is this about? So maybe if you can alternate to answer. That would be great.
Yeah, so I can go ahead and start it off. So the team, it aims to support our social work students and the school community, and we're providing kind of a coordinated, centralized communication regarding students who are having difficulties so that we're aware and that we can all work together to support those students. We provide links to internal McGill resources such as the Wellness Hub, and also external resources, community services, for example. We don't provide a one-on-one counseling, but we can refer you to appropriate resources that might be helpful to the student. So we're really acting as, in a way, a liaison between the services that are available to students and the student themselves, because it can get very fuddled. There's a lot of changes sometimes in what's offered, and we really want to be that point person that you can go to if you're in need of something but not sure how to get access to it.
Anything to add, Matthew, or did Nicole cover it all?
I mean, she covered it incredibly well. I think we'll get into this a little bit further in, but there are some differences between IM and the larger student support system, but it's very comparable. The only, I guess, big difference I mentioned right now is I primarily work with Indigenous students in social work. So I try really hard to actually, thanks to Nicole, I have a lot of resources that she shared that she mentioned, internal, external, but I also try to find other resources that might be more salient or relevant to Indigenous students as well. So, yeah.
Okay, great. And apart from you two, is there anyone else who's part of the student support consultation team at the school?
Yeah, I'm going to try and answer this one. It almost feels like a test because my memory is not the greatest. So if I get anything wrong, Nicole will hopefully jump in and save me. So to my knowledge, our team makes up, I think it's the BSW program director, and we also work with the 2 field coordinators, just because as much as we try and assist with a lot of different parts of the student experience at McGill, it's important also that we respect the expertise of our colleagues who do the field work. So I wouldn't advise on field situations, but I could refer them to the field coordinator, or I might touch base with them to get them advice. So it's just nice to work in this team to have different levels of expertise around the experience that students have in social work. I don't know if I missed anything.
Yeah, so that's Francine Granner.
Oh yeah.
Myself, I'm the MSW field coordinator. And we also have on the team Julia Crane, who's the BSW director, Nicole Ives, who's the MSW director, and the field education director, who's Pam Orzek. So we're a group of 5. Is that right? No, wait, hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, we're a group of 6. We're a group of 6. Yeah, I can count. I can count.
I had to think too. That's why I'm not in sciences.
Great. So that is a very good team. We know those people, and we are happy to know that they are part of the consultation team. Then who can contact this team and what for?
So students can contact us directly. Also the program directors, if they see that there's a student who's struggling or might be in need, they can also contact us. Faculty members, course lecturers, academic advisors. They might notice that there's a student who would benefit from meeting with one of us and can refer that student to us. And then we would reach out to see if they'd like to set up a meeting.
Okay. And this is contact by email. Do you have any office hours? How else can students get a hold of you?
So it would be by email, and then we will set up an appointment based on the students' availabilities. So yeah, and we'll give our email addresses, I guess, at the end, just so that people know. But and we're available to meet with students either in person or via Zoom. I tend to be in the office at least 3 times a week, and I think Matthew too has fixed hours in the office at 550 Sherbrooke. So you would just have to email us. Yeah.
Yeah. If anyone's interested, I can announce my office hours. So I work part-time for IM, so I'm available Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Typically Monday I work a half day, so I'm available in the mornings, but then Thursday, Fridays, I am available full days. But if I have enough students who need to meet on a Monday and it's only possible in the afternoon, I can switch my half to the afternoon. I try and have some flexibility, just because I know with courses, field placement, life obligations, it can get hectic for students. So I try and have some flexibility. But like Nicole said, if you're interested in meeting, just fire an email and we can figure it out.
Yeah.
So if I understand correctly, you can meet virtually, but you can also have some in-person meetings?
Yes.
All right, good. It's good to, if you're able to accommodate both, because we all know how the Zoom year has affected us immensely, and we're still navigating how to meet people. So once I book an appointment, I send you an email about I want to chat with you, what happens next?
So, so basically, once you come in and meet with us, we would have you sign a student engagement agreement, with us, and that really includes information about consent and confidentiality. And for example, there's often challenges that impacts the students' engagement in their studies and completion of courses and things like that. So, if there's multiple pieces at play, then the student support coordinators would connect and discuss the students' challenges with the consultation team or with the IM team where applicable, just in order to maximize the options for the students. This doesn't happen all the time. Like I said, it's not, every single student we meet with that it goes back to the consultation team. But if it's a very complex situation that's involving, many, many moving pieces, then we would consult with the team. So yeah. And yeah, so they would just have to sign that student engagement team form outlining like confidentiality and things like that, where we would have to report if if the student expresses like harm to themselves or somebody else, things like that. And once they sign that, then we we can engage in the conversation. Hopefully we'll be able to help the student in some way. Mhm. Mhm. So yeah.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Great, great. Well, we do know that sometimes we see you as a course lecturer, and we know that Matthew, maybe you were our colleague not long ago. Say, for example, I contact you to navigate maybe how my field placement is going, how my personal life is going, how maybe I'm having difficulties with a professor or someone at school or even outside of school. What would you do? Like make me feel comfortable to come to you. What would you do?
All right. I'll take a stab at this. So generally speaking, I think a big part of it is putting the time aside for the student, whether it's in person or over Zoom, to feel comfortable disclosing whatever they're dealing with, giving them time to listen to what they're going through, and then just kind of trying to assess what resources I have available to help them with a particular issue. So for example, you mentioned field placement. As I mentioned earlier, it's not my place to engage directly with field placement issues, but I might be able to help set up an appointment with a field coordinator, or if there's any issues there, help navigate that. So that in certain examples, if students has to go do something external, they don't necessarily have to feel like they're doing it alone, that there's support coming from me in IM. If it's in terms of like, you know, a variety of different situations, like if you're having financial concerns, Nicole and I have pulled resources to help alleviate some of those things. And again, I can speak for IM, but part of my role would be like, if I'm going to give you a referral, I'm not just going to hand it to you and expect you to have to navigate it all on your own. Part of my responsibilities as the IM student coordinator is to, if you want, obviously you can choose to do it on your own. It's totally okay. But if you want that extra support, I will do my best to work with you on those types of things. So I think it's just really making sure that students who come to see me for IM support, knowing that you have the time and space to work through what you can. And if I don't have the resources, I'll be upfront about it, but I'll try and do my research, and I'll reach out to maybe the student support team, the IM team, pull on those resources to find what avenues we can make to help resolve any issues you're dealing with.
Yeah, and like if you know, I think you mentioned like personal issues, you know, we would let them know that like if they want to book an appointment with a mental health professional, that they can through the Wellness Hub. We would, you know, refer them to resources like Keep Me Safe, where they can you know, request sessions with counselors, and this is also free of charge and available to students. And sometimes students don't even know that these options are available to them. So it's an, you know, it can be really, really helpful to have a point person to go to be able to find these resources if they need like mental health support or counseling and things like this. You know, if they're struggling with food security, you know, we can also refer them to resources on campus like the Midnight Kitchen, or even off campus like the People's Potato. You know, if it has to do with finances, we would definitely have them hooked up with someone from McGill Scholarship and Student Aid. You know, if they are dealing with any issues like in the classroom, maybe there's been some kind of a microaggression or something like that, we would let them know that, you know, there is a process with the Office of Mediation and Reporting, and, you know, this is how it could potentially work. This is who you contact. So any issue that they're dealing with, we want to be able to help navigate them, you know, and set them up with the right people, if they so choose. Yeah.
Thank you for elaborating on that. And I think, even though I say that because you are our course lecturer and you were used to be our colleague, then we won't feel comfortable. But I think that's why we would feel comfortable actually coming to you, because we know that you were exposed to our world, you've been in our classrooms, you have I experienced what a social work student can go through to some level. So we appreciate having support people who are able to connect to our journey. And now, was this position born out of a need? Was there a why behind the creation of this position? Because if I understand correctly, it's fairly new. So was there like a reason why this position was created?
So in IAM, they already had the student support coordinator within IAM, but for the school, we didn't really have that kind of point person. We have the LWA, which is the local wellness hub advisor, who is kind of part of the Faculty of Arts, but we didn't have anybody in-house. And I think that, that was something that we felt would be important to have somebody inside the School of Social Work, especially with students. I think last year was a very, very rocky year, even the year before, and finding ways and talking about how we can better be there and support our students. I think it was bred out of that. It was bred out of or birthed, I should say, birthed out of the need for students to be more connected to resources that already exist within McGill or exist outside, and helping to support them through their journeys. So it was, really, really to be a support to them and to be there for them. Like you just said, we all know what it feels like to be a student, and it's not always easy. And we're undertaking a profession that will be challenging, and even as a student, it can be extremely, extremely challenging. So wanting to give students a space where they can come and meet with us and try to work through their issues or work through whatever difficulties, challenges they're having, helping to navigate them so that they can continue on. We want to see, I'm sorry, my voice is like, but we want to see our students flourish. That is like the ultimate goal. We want to see them flourish, to do well, to succeed, to be able to persevere. And this was one way of helping to support them and be there for them in a way that wasn't there before.
That's amazing. Thank you. And Matthew?
Yeah, I was going to jump on just because, like Nicole mentioned, like it's wonderful now that this program exists. And just a little history about IAM, just because I also want to plug the program a little bit, is IAM has actually been around since 2007, though I'm sure there was many years of work leading up to its inception. It was created in collaboration with Indigenous and non-Indigenous students and faculty and staff to create a program to not only support Indigenous students who come into the School of Social Work, but also to be proactive about going out and doing outreach and recruiting students, creating opportunities for Indigenous students in social work, just because, as I'm sure many students are learning or may have already known, that social work has a very storied history with Indigenous communities. A lot of it very, 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 very negative. And if you want to change that, you need to change the face of social work, and that involves having more Indigenous social workers, having people who have social workers who work in communities be from those communities. But there's a lot of steps to get there, and I think IAM wants to be a part of that process. And so while we do a lot of student support in terms of like helping students while they're in school, we also do a lot of activities and different projects to overall increase opportunities in social work for Indigenous people all across Turtle Island. So yeah, just a little bit about IAM.
Thank you, thank you. And to wrap up our talk, I just wanted to ask you a little bit about your feedback. I know you have interacted with social workers in the past, and And you are, Nicole, in the process of like you said, molding new ones. What is one thing that you would like to encounter in a social worker, to observe, or you have encountered, like one quality that you think is very important or that will be touching to you in a social worker?
I would say, I would say a few things. I think one thing would be humility. You know, really realizing that even though you hold so much power, that the client is really kind of the center and the expert of their lives, and you know, just to realize that as much as you know your client, you don't necessarily know your client, and to really take the time to listen to them, to picture yourself as the client and think about how you would want to be spoken to, how you would want to be treated, how you would want others to write about you, even in our assessments and things like that. Like if that was you sitting in that chair dealing with whatever that issue was, how would you want to be treated, you know? I think that it does take a certain level of humility, like especially to say, like, you know, who am I to judge this person, or who am I to think lesser of this person? You know, I think that it's important for us to see people in a way that is free of bias, free of judgment, free of all of that, and just see them as a human being, not that different from yourself. Just different in terms of the experiences, right? But they should be treated equally. They should be treated with compassion. I would go as far to say love. You know, there should be some care there. And I think that if that is there, all of your interventions, everything, you know, your relationship with the client, it will come from a genuine place, you know. And I think that we have to remember what our focus is, you know. And in a lot of ways, our focus is to serve others and to help those who are in difficult circumstances and things like that. And so keeping that hat on and keeping that focus, remembering that even if, you know, you run into a situation with a client that is hard or difficult, or you feel like, oh, you know, I don't like this person, or I don't agree with this, you know, just having a little bit more empathy. I'm big on empathy. I think that helps a lot in the work that we do. Just being able to understand that everybody has a story. People don't just wake up and decide to be bad or evil or whatever you want to, you know, there's a lot that goes into that. So I would be very, very, I would like to see more social workers who are non-judgmental, who are humble, who, you know, create less distance between them and their clients. Yeah, yeah, everybody has a story. Just remember, everybody has a story. Like people, if you sit down and actually listen, you'll see that there are things that led up to where they are today. And if we can just be a little bit more empathetic and compassionate towards our clients, and, you know, even when you're not around them and you're with your coworkers and stuff, not like gossiping about them and, you know, talking down about them, or, you know, yeah, just try to treat them the way that you would want to be treated. The golden rule.
That was a lot there. So I heard humility, I heard empathy, compassion, love. being able to allow the client to be the center of the intervention and not pretending that you know them. And yeah, a whole lot to make a social worker. So thank you for reminding us that. Matthew?
When Nicole, you beat me to it. Humility was my go-to.
She
But
stole
I'm glad
it.
you. No. I'm glad she said it exactly how it needed to be put. So I guess what I was thinking about, and I'll try my best to articulate this in an intelligible way, but I think tenacity, built on a bedrock of humility. But what I mean by that is, for example, when I used to work at Kamloops Immigrant Services, and even in some of my field placements, and I'd even say some of my colleagues as a social work student, you meet this very interesting mix in some social work practitioners where you have this bedrock of humility, compassion, but what do you do with it? Well, you lean into your resourcefulness, you lean into your focus and your discipline, and you channel that into some pretty impressive advocacy. And I think if I'm honest about myself, maybe in the exercise of humility, I think one area that can be really hard for people who are compassionate and want to be humble, it's easy to burn out against the large structures that are imposed not only on our clients, but ourselves as people who are trying to navigate these difficult situations. And I think it takes a lot of tenacity, it takes a lot of resourcefulness and determination not to give up. And obviously we want to be mindful of burnout. I would never say work yourself to the bone, because you also have to take care of yourself. But I really respect people who are able to find this balance of using these humble, caring, loving, empathetic values to channel that into something very productive and do some impressive advocacy. And it's kind of funny, I'll poke fun of myself a little. Earlier, I was teasing about how I could never go into trade school because I don't have the skills to be a tradesperson. I'm too much of a klutz. But I sometimes view social work a lot like a trade. Like if you're a carpenter, you are an apprentice and then you're a journeyman. And I love the word journeyman. A friend told me it means you're called that because you journey across the land perfecting your craft of a carpenter. And it's this idea that to be a carpenter is a lifelong learning experience. And I think social work is very comparable. Probably a lot of professions are, but I think thinking of your social work practice like a trade, like a skill that you'll hone and craft, that you'll meet different people and adapt your practice, or you'll, have different experiences will change the way that you do something. I think that kind of leans into the resourcefulness and tenacity that's necessary to have ever effective advocacy. So I hope that made sense, but I think just having that kind of willingness to really just be there for your client, but then to do something with that and to really kind of knock on doors, talk to people, stir the pot, do what you have to do to try and help your clients. Because I think, if that wasn't necessary, I don't think we need social workers. Part of our job is advocating and using, as Nicole mentioned at the beginning, like being mindful of the position of privilege we have, but then leveraging it and knowing all the ways that we can leverage it in meaningful ways. Because I think even prior to being a social worker, I think sometimes it's surprising how much you can actually do with a little bit of, I guess, lack of a better term, elbow grease. It's amazing what opportunities you can create by just really going out there and knocking on doors. So anyway, I'm rambling now, but in summary, tenacity.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. Be persistent, guys. Those who are listening.
Get your hands dirty. It takes a lot of work to fight this big system that we're in. Oh, man. Thank you, you two. Again, Nicole Mitchell and Matthew Coutu-Moya, the student support coordinators that are here to help you navigate this journey of becoming a social worker with everything that comes with it. So we'll link their emails in the show notes and hit them up anytime and go chat with them. In person is available as also Zoom is. Thank you two for making time to chat with us, and have a good day.
You too. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Bye.